Probably close to like 20 plus locations now offering monthly educational events. We really appreciate that new alliance. And then where my real estate licenses are held at TCS Property Management, where we offer property management services throughout the country in different markets. But I'd like to take some time here to talk about one of our moderators. I want to take a quick moment for one of our moderators, Justin Jefferson. He's going through some stuff right now, health wise. Let's put a prayer out for him. We talked briefly this past week. He's a friend, a colleague. We've networked together, and he's just not feeling well right now. So just put your prayers out there for Justin Jefferson. Great guy. Met him in person several times. We've had some great times. So please keep him in mind in your prayers and your thoughts. So let's jump into our discussion today. First we'll talk about the market. What a crazy market going on. Tariffs, rates, and at the end of the day, the rates are still around the same. We're hovering around 7%. I think it's a great opportunity for real estate investors. I don't think it's a great opportunity for home buyers because I think they're confused. I don't think the real estate agent base understands the tumultuous market. Inventory is up. We're really not seeing a spring market. We're just seeing kind of a investor play. Days on the market are increasing. The Fed's talking about maybe potentially 4 rate cuts this year. We're peeling back all these poor negotiation options we had with all these countries, and once we get through a lot of that, I think we're going to see a very unique opportunity for consumer confidence yet again coming back. I think we kicked the can way too long, allowing ourselves to be exposed to just giving away the country in some sense. I think we're going to hopefully see some recovery over the next year. I mean, we're only 90 days into Trump being in office. I think we need to really see what's going on here about a year down the road. We can't micromanage by the month. We got to micromanage by the year or two. Everything that's happening right now from a real estate impact environment, I think, is from your past government or governments in the last several times. So I think you got to concern yourself with it. They're going to try to peel the onion as much as they can. I don't know if they really want to peel it too hard. They might not like what they see when the onion's completely peeled off. But I think there's a unique opportunity here for real estate investors or real estate investor friendly professional services to get in front of a lot of people. And I'm seeing that in a lot of events coming up as I'm involved. And I want to thank the Sub 2 community. We had an unbelievable event yesterday in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. Probably close to 75 to 80 people there from 12 to 3, networking, education, insight, masterminding, hot seat. We were just getting into it for 3 solid hours. What a excellent event. We had an event this past week in Lehigh Valley, had close to 30 people there networking, discussing the market. We were also in South Jersey this past week as well. really digging into new construction and having that a real in-depth discussion. But we got some really great events coming up this week alone. We have Philadelphia Elite Dealmakers on Monday night, 6:30. Tuesday night, we are in Jersey City with the Elite Dealmakers in North Jersey. We got a great presentation. It's our first event there. And then on Saturday, I will be in New York City at 110 Fifth Avenue. If anybody's in the area, please, by all means, reach out to me. I'll get you an Eventbrite link. We're probably going to have close to 200 people there, and I'm going to be digging into underwriting and discussing asset-based lending and understanding the differences and teaching people how to broker loans and becoming a direct private lender, and getting that, building that confidence. So that's going to be 1 to 4 on Saturday this week. But a couple other events I would love to announce. In May, I will be in South Carolina at the end of the month, the 28th, 29th, and the 30th, with Anthony Kazazis and his group for the New York Real Estate Investor Expo. I'll be presenting several times there in Greenville. And then in June, I am happy to announce I will be speaking at Mr. Landlord with Jeffrey Taylor, and that will be on the 5th, 6th, and 7th. Promotions are going out through all our social media channels. So if you're in Indianapolis, you're in Greensboro, South Carolina, you're in New York, you're in Philadelphia, you're South Jersey. We have weekend workshops coming up this month, April 26th in South Jersey at First American Title with David Injami. So we're staying out there in front of people. And then I think we just announced I'm speaking in Rhode Island on May 3rd for the Real Estate Investors Group and Realtors up there on asset-based lending. So we're really getting out there as a podcast and as an educational source for real estate professionals throughout the country. So let's get into some more news today. Like I said, active inventory is up almost like 30%. So Realtor.com reports. I will post that information. And again, the Fed's playing a little game, cat and mouse with the government with potential tax cuts. But I really don't see the relevance of the Fed right now at this point, and the market. They're not working side by side. Your spring housing market jumps, but buyers remain hesitant amid economic turmoil. And one other article that I saw this past week, which I thought was interesting, build to rent market improves as SFR completions hit historic highs. So a lot of these developments that were once being considered for townhome developments and selling off are now being held back and building to rent and holding them for tenants. And we're seeing a big increase in that as well. So let's dive into our subject today. Underrated ways to build trust as a real estate leader. And there's a couple different ways to look at this. You can look at this as a real estate investor. You can look at this as a real estate agent. But the mindset of winning in building trust in real estate is a unique factor. You need to as a leader, you need to build trust as a paramount, establishing the credibility and fostering strong relationships within the industry. Often, most effective leaders earn trust through subtle and underrated methods that go unnoticed, but are crucial for long-term success. In this competitive real estate industry, trust serves as a foundation for successful leadership and enduring relationships by incorporating these underrated strategies into your leadership approach. You can strengthen trust, build credibility, and differentiate yourself as a trusted real estate leader. My thoughts here is I love this topic. And 2, trust is everything in real estate. And the best leaders often earn in a subtle, underrated ways. And some of the overlooked powerful strategies to build trust as a real estate leader you need to keep in consideration. 1, sharing the bad news first. 2, remembering the small details. 3, over-communicating during uncertainty. 4, admitting when you don't know something. Get back to somebody if you don't have the answer. Just don't blurt some crap out and try to think you're going to, look extraordinary. Give credit and take responsibility. Be predictably reliable. I love being early to an event because early is on time and on time is late. Teach, don't gatekeep. I'm a big fan of that. I kind of watch and listen sometimes more often now than ever. Also, show up when it's inconvenient. Okay, listen. No, being the better professional is not always easy. Okay, do I want to get up every morning, go to the gym, and take care of myself? No. Sometimes I want to lay there and relax. But I know if I don't get up and stay physically fit in what I'm doing every day, I'm going to have problems down the road. And it's also the matter of planting seeds as a real estate leader. You need to invest in others' successes as well. I'm not saying to be the welcome mat, but I'm saying you need to understand that people need encouragement by other trusted real estate experts. And I think a real estate agent or a real estate investor, there's a lot of coinciding factors in being a leader. But I sometimes like supporting other organizations as a sponsor, as a go-to, is important. But don't allow yourself to give it all away. Like I'll give you a great example. Just recently, somebody reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'd love to speak at one of your events." And I know they have events themselves. And I said, "That's great, but I look forward to you scheduling me to speak at one of your events so we have a nice reciprocal relationship." Guess what happened? Crickets. Didn't even get a call back, not even a text, not nothing. That saved me a whole load of aggravation. You know why? The respect level is just not there. So great, you want to speak at one of my events and get in front of my network, but you don't feel obliged to put me in front of yours. And not saying I'm being like it's first grade antics, but we're in a professional atmosphere. We're trying to get in front of as many people that are going to make sense for us and provide opportunities for ourselves and others within our power team to succeed. So sometimes the silence answers all questions. So being a leader also sometimes is to be intuitive with people. Sometimes you get that gut feeling that hey, maybe I don't know if I want to team up with this individual. I don't know if I want to alliance. Also sponsoring as well. I mean, I think people are taking advantage of sponsorship dollars. I mean, some of these sponsorships are ridiculous, and I just don't see the value. But I think people are in such desperation to get in front of people to look like a leader in their space. They confuse the two. You got to weigh out the cost benefit in any way. I'm always a gracious host at every event I go to, even though I'm not the host. I'll give you a great example. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Richmond, Virginia. Instead of taking a table as a vendor, because I didn't see the value comparatively just working the room, I'm going to be on the stage and doing a presentation as one of the leaders. I worked that entire room back and forth. And I think I got in front of more people just back and forth, networking, shaking hands, going inside the rooms, getting on the stage, than having a table meeting stuck in one space. And it was a third of the price. I just had to hustle a little bit. Got a couple extra steps in. I got my extra exercise in for the day. But it worked out very well because I got to meet more people because I kept moving around. To me, I felt like a leader in my own room. I felt like I was the host of an event that I wasn't part of. Other than being an attendee. So sometimes being a leader sometimes is kind of watching and waiting and seeking the opportunities where you see. Listen, yesterday, I'll give you a great example. Yesterday, we had 75 people at an event. We were sponsors. We were in the front of everybody. We weren't the leaders. We gave great credit to them. But it was a great opportunity to get in front of 75 people for a very cost-effective sponsorship dollars. So to me, I look like a leader in that real estate space, which made me feel great. I came home. I was really confident. We're going to have some great follow-ups and great discussions, and it's going to lead to other great events and opportunities working with these groups. So let's get started here. We'll get to our moderators, of course. We start ladies first. Good morning, Amy. Welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to underrated ways to build trust as a real estate leader.
Good morning, Joe. Thanks for having me up again. I am Amy Falco. I'm the chairwoman of the U.S. PropTech Council, which is the trade association for the real estate technology industry in the U.S. I'm also a PropTech founder. I build AI solutions for the data center industry. And I'm a longtime real estate investor. I've been a real estate investor since 2008. So building trust as a real estate leader, obviously, you earn trust by what's given to you from other people, right? You can't just assume people trust you. So establishing your credibility, whether it, being on stages, whether it's just doing the right thing. And I think most people just appreciate that when you're courteous and when you're, I read this article, and this might seem kind of silly, but say somebody spills something on the floor and you clean it up, right? I mean, that just seems like simple, but a lot of people would just pass it by. But people notice the little things about you. And if you're courteous and something spilled on the floor and you think it might cause a problem and somebody might fall and you cleaned it up, even though it's not your job, but you did it anyway, that's kind of an underrated thing. But it helps people notice the little things about you. And so if you're doing the right thing, that will build trust in you. And you're going to have plenty of times when you have to do big things. And then that character that you have, because you're doing the little things right all the time, in those moments when you have to do big things, of course you're going to do the right thing, right? But it all starts with the little things. So you got to do the little things right. And if you don't do the little things right, you'll never get to do the big things. So I think that's one way, an underrated way to build trust. I think, if you're courteous and kind, that always helps as well. And kindness should never be underrated, but sometimes it is. So I'm thinking,
Amy, I want to bring up your podcast because I watched it the other day. So do you feel that has accelerated your leadership role with the PropTech Council, being very consistent and being in front of people, interviewing people, that level of confidence, and competence, and it's not cockiness, it's just confidence and confidence. It's, you get to learn how to listen and then speak. Has the podcast helped you with leadership in your space?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of podcasts out there, and that's what a lot of people will say. And there might be a lot of podcasts out there, but even if you are, it positions you as a leader when you have a podcast. It just does. So don't feel like it's saturated and you should do something different. I think podcasts are a great way to kind of build trust with your audience, and trust with the industry. And you can get a lot of really high level people. I get a lot of really high level people to come onto my show just because I have a show. And so there's a lot, and so it serves you in multiple ways, because then you can not only position yourself as a leader in the industry because you have a show, you also get to meet and network with people that you want to meet with because they want to come onto your show, right? So and then when they see that those people come onto your show, then it just builds more trust with your audience, and it just kind of spirals in the right way. So yes, having a podcast is very beneficial for you. And I think, marketing is changing. It's where it's more, it's less ad-based now and more social, organic kind of. I think you're gonna build trust with your audience via the social media channels and podcasting and all those things versus a traditional ad might, per se. But that's in my industry, where you're doing B2B kind of work. That's kind of how marketing is going. So yes, for sure, podcasting is great.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I mean, the group that we're using, the Google team that we're using with Yardell, they're clipping the video clips and popping them in so many different spots, and I'm seeing the inbound just increasing of inquiry. But what I have seen when I have a group that shares the podcast out, the live podcast out on Facebook to like 300 groups, like 250 groups, some crazy number, whatever it is, all over the country. We had 4,000 views on yet last week's podcast by just doing that. We've been experimenting with that and getting online earlier to set the podcast up. And I mean, and even if the people stay on for a little while, like I listened to your podcast that you interviewed like 3 guys on there. I forgot what the subject matter was this past week, but I was on there just listening and doing some work. But people will listen to what your words and hopefully apply some of that, and they'll make an inquiry, back and forth. But I do agree with you. I think the days of boosting ads and just providing information out there in a consistent manner, and then holding events like you do and like I do. You know what I mean? I mean, how many events do you guys scheduled for this spring, summer? 6?
Me?
Yeah, just you. Yeah, like
for sure. And I host a lot of virtual events too. So, yeah, I mean, I have probably in-person events. I've got like 6 or 7 between now and August. There's like 6 or 7 things I'm going to, and then we have a lot of virtual events too, with a lot of Zoom meetings and a lot of webinars and all of that. So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your half a nickel this morning, Amy, and thank you.
You're welcome. I think you got full nickel. But yeah,
I got full nickel.
My 2 cents. Half a nickel.
Well, thank you. The mindset of a winner real estate investor, we'll start with that first, and then we'll go into the agent as well. And a real estate investor needs to have long-term vision over short-term gains. Calculated risk takers, right? You need to have resilience and adaptability. You need to be a chameleon. Okay, got to change colors as you proceed forward in meeting and greeting with people. Growth-oriented learning. Problem solving, not problem dwelling. Data-driven with emotional control. Abundance mentality. You need to be network-oriented. You got to be able to walk into a room and not know one single person and walk out knowing every single person and exchanging your card with every single person. Action-oriented. Discipline and consistency. Okay, it's not sexy, but it's true. Showing up consistently, doing the boring work and sticking to a plan separates the dabblers from the winners. Mr. David Ingerman, good morning. Welcome. Brief overview of who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion. Underrated ways to build trust as a real estate leader.
Hey, good morning, Joe. Thanks. And good morning to everybody. So based on the topic today, 2 things come to my mind, 2 phrases that are in my mind a lot lately, and I'll throw them out there and then I'll kind of elaborate on each one. First one is, you can't help somebody that doesn't want to help themselves. And the second one is, people remember you by the way you make them feel. So let me just touch on the first one. I have, been to a lot of real estate events over the last several years, and I've even hosted a bunch. And, I noticed in a lot of sectors of especially real estate, this happens. Not so much in our investment sector, but there's still a lot of it, in that you see that you offer people, your resources or your network or your expertise, and don't take advantage of it. Like I was saying yesterday at our great event that Joe mentioned, I mentioned this when we spoke. I said, there's a network here, and our community, in the investment community, seems very open. Everybody seems to want to help everybody. Everybody seems very friendly. But if you're a person that's more introverted, let's say, and you don't reach out to pick somebody's brain, then you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. There's a lot of experts in certain fields that you'll run across at things like this, on podcasts, on in-person events. And I'll give you just a quick example. Last week on this very call, I threw out that I had a couple links. One was for title insurance and one was for homeowners insurance, where you can get a very quick and easy quote for your next transaction. It's just a quote. It's just a lot of people ask, hey, what are the fees going to be? What are the fees going to be? Well, you can always call me for those things, but I had a resource that is at your fingertips. One person reached out about it, just one. So that's an example. If you don't take the initiative, you're going to miss out on a lot of good resources that can help you in your, building your, basically your financial empire. Now, the second one I mentioned is a phrase I heard just a few years ago, and I've not always been the best at it, not because I've been unfriendly, but just, sometimes I'm a little introverted myself, but it's how you make people feel. So when somebody calls you, or any of us, for...
Dave, we lost you. Dave? Dave was going to give the most interesting information right there. Dave, are you there? Hello?
They feel...
I think you're back, Dave. Dave, we missed a whole interesting...
Then you're likely to get them to call you back for business in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, Dave, we lost you for a few minutes. Right when you said introverted. You there? Dave, we can't hear you. Maybe come back in and out. Ed, are you there? Nope. Can you hear me? I'm going to come back in and out. Hold on one second. Am I back? Am I back in? Am I back in? Hello? This is weird. Let's see here. I can't hear anybody. Sorry, and yeah, I'm having a little technical difficulty. Hold on one second. Turn off the phone out of your car. Turn it off because I can't. It's screwing up my entire podcast. I didn't know it was on. Sorry about these guys. Give me 1 second. Can everybody hear me now? Can everybody hear me now? I think we might have to end this podcast. Hold on 1 second. I can't hear anybody.
It's so easy to have like a QR code that has your, use a Calendly, and that link is just a URL. Put that on your business card or on the back of your business card and say, hey, I really like to set up a meeting. I don't want to get lost in the shuffle. So you just use this QR code. You can set up a time with me on my calendar, spend 30 minutes. I found that works really well from a follow-up. It just makes it easy for everybody. And QR codes are great. You get it for free and it's just a URL link, but it really works when you're handing a paper business card to someone and they can use their phone to set up a time with you, and you're not having to, get it. I've seen it where you can use your phone and then they give you their phone number, but that gets lost in your contacts, and then or you connect via LinkedIn. And that's a little more helpful because LinkedIn is great when you connect via LinkedIn at a conference. It date stamps it, so you can kind of go back and see when you manage your connections, and you can go back and look. And then like, oh, I met him there, so I know, like, it was a couple days ago, but you have to follow it. But I think it's just, if you have a paper business card and you have a QR code on the back of it that says, hey, connect with me, I think that's always really good too.
Hey guys, I think I'm back. Everybody there?
Yeah, you're here, John.
Oh yeah, had a weird moment there. Sorry about that, guys. Where did we leave off? Where did we leave off, Amy?
We were talking about connecting at events. That's where we're at. So how the easy ways to do that and connect with people.
Well, it's funny. It's I love going to events. Monday through Thursday, I'm out networking one way or another, and it often amazes me. I was part of an event this past week. It was funny. We had a happy hour. I hosted at my office. And these three guys that were part of a meetup group or whatever they were doing say, hey, we would love you to host our event. Nobody came. I'm like, what's going on here? I would just like, how did nobody come? Like, they didn't get the trust of the people that they were networking to. And not that they were embarrassed, they just didn't know what to say. And it takes time to build trust for people to come to an event, especially if it's educational or networking purposes. They want to see a cost benefit. And I think that's another way, being a real estate leader, you got to be consistent with the events. Like, I had somebody I was talking to, they're like, hey, we might take off for July and August for our events. I'm like, no, you should not take off. You should have something consistently and continuously, because the minute you drop, I think you become invisible. I think the winning strategy is to be consistent, even if you have 10 or 15 people there in lieu of 50 people, because listen, summertime, springtime, wintertime, people are going to still come out, whoever's available. Not everybody's on vacation. Not everybody can afford to go on vacation. So I think leadership and running events run side by side, and just providing and sharing with others at these events, I think, are important. Like, you can't be always the person speaking in front, in the sense of providing a subject. That's an egomaniac. I think, if you allow others and you kind of play host or hostess, I think that's much more powerful. That shows true leadership skills comparatively than being the speaker every time. And that's just some additional thoughts to that. Did Felix get to introduce himself and who he is and what he does, and thoughts to underrated ways to build trust as a real estate leader?
Grand Rising, everybody. Felix Buchanan Sr., Buchanan Biz Enterprises, the JLix Group, also a team leader with Exit Realty, New Perspective here in Baltimore. In reference to like building trust, one of the bigger things obviously is going to be consistency, and I can speak to it from both sides because I'm a team leader as well as I deal with investor clients. So from the team leader standpoint, I believe that consistency, showing up for your team, helping them, supporting them with whether it be open houses or different events that they may have, doing more than what you're paid for. I think that that's huge in the sense of building trust. There's nobody that's not going to appreciate you doing something for them that you're not worried about being paid for it, because that's realistically the ultimate level of trust. If you're doing something to help someone out and no one's giving you anything for it, nothing monetary or otherwise. I believe that education is key, knowing that you know what you're talking about, making it that it's verifiable for them. So whatever it is that you're speaking of, you're either giving them points of reference that they can go reference it. If they Googled it, if they AI'd it, whatever it is, it provides that the information in which that you're providing them is solid. So that's always going to build trust. And realistically, that's really it for me in the sense of that. It's just being there for your people. That always is going to build higher levels of trust. And that's it for me today.
So Felix, coming back into the real estate agent space as you have in the last quarter, and you have been out of it playing real estate investor. What have you found difference in the individual that is now like, what is the mindset of that real estate agent now compared to a couple of years ago when you were in it full time as an agent? Like there's obviously was a break between. So now you're back in, training and marketing with agents. What have you found different, good, bad, and different?
I think that because the real estate market was just fruitful for a lot of people, like they didn't have to work as hard as we did when I got my license in '05 and go through the crash of '08 and different aspects. These agents were pretty spoiled over the last, I want to say 4 to 6 years, because if you had no skill set, the property was going to sell itself because of the market, what was happening in our economy. Now you have a lot of agents. Like I have one agent, for example, she sold $4.2 million worth of real estate in 2023. And she kind of was like on a high horse. In 24, she only did 2.2 million. But the difference is she just got sales sporadically. She didn't organically like what I got her doing now, 20 contacts a day, 100 contacts a week. In 2 days of her doing that, she got 7 new deals on the table. That's things that, to me, it's just going back to doing things the old school way, and that will better help these agents now because they were spoiled by the market.
Okay. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
So, building trust as a real estate agent in the market is essential for long-term success. So what strategies are you applying now and tactics to stand out, to become the go-to group in Baltimore? And I mean, we'll take that same thought, across the country type of thought.
Well, the biggest thing that I have everybody doing now is community, just like how y'all talking about going to events. So I have an event this weekend, free haircut at the real estate office for children between 5 and 17 right before Easter. We're going to do door knocking events. We're going to go out as a group. I'm scheduling that. Every month we are going to do an event. We're going to do wine and credit, cupcakes and credit, different things that re-engages us with the community, because that's the best way to build trust, face-to-face, knocking on doors. So these are different events that like I said, is on the 19th, and I'm scheduling more and more events to get us grounded in the community.
Yeah, I feel like being the authentic you, people connect with people, not brands or business cards. They share your story. Like you're sharing your story here by holding events as part of the community, kind of being ingrained. I like how you're communicating like a pro and kind of playing leader of the pack. But is there anybody kind of like stepping up to saying, hey man, I want to collaborate with you as a team member, or are they still playing more follower type of situation?
There were 7 agents. Of the 7, 3 of them are following along and moving forward. The other 4 are more like, well, JR wasn't making us do this, or like one, I gave him some homework to do last week where we had our one-on-one. And when I texted him about the homework, he didn't call me back. He reached out to the broker to tell the broker that they needed to have a conversation. And so some of them are not being receptive to the things that I'm doing to hold them accountable. Some of them rather it be, well, I was over here chilling, just got my license hung up here. Well, if that's the case, go hang your license somewhere else, because we're not over here chilling. We're looking to, regain the status that he once had that was lost over the last couple of
years. Yeah. I think a lot of officers are feeling a little lost. They were pretty spoiled with having just unbelievable amount of business coming in, and now they really got to go out there and earn it. And now it's playing catch up. You got to spend money. When I looked at my social media presence last year, and I thought about this, and I thought about how do I stay abreast of leadership roles and being part of the business itself, and staying, because who am I competing with? I feel like I'm not competing. I don't feel like I'm competing with other lenders, meaning like the individual lenders. I feel like I'm competing with companies. So I had to take the role from a social media perspective a little differently. So what I did was become a local expert and a regional expert, put this podcast together. We're celebrating our 98th episode today. And we did a lot of video work during COVID, but it was just kind of like throwing slapstick kind of stuff. But then it was time to really take the social media to the next level by marketing correctly, consistently. So I was doing a lot of it myself, and then made a conscious decision. I wanted to have a personal website. I wanted to make sure, God forbid something happens, I have my website, having all the information there, then having a website for the podcast, and then the social media marketing. Like, how do we get out there in front of people? We had to identify the right group. We had to identify the right Google words. I'm probably spending more money than ever before on social media, but I'm seeing the results because it's providing the branding of me looking like a leader and sponsoring good, solid educational events, using the social media proof in the pudding. Like, hey, we had 75 people here yesterday. We're going to have 200 people in New York. We're going to have 150 people here. The return on your time and investment, it's a numbers game. If you're meeting 200 people a week or 100 people a week at networking events and doing these unique community ideas that like Felix was talking about, and Amy with her podcasting and Zoom calls, I mean, she's killing it on LinkedIn. I mean, I'm always seeing an update by Amy on one event or another. And then Dave is out there hustling in the local environment, actually tackling new events. We rekindled Dave and I, and now Dave works with me at Lenmark. I'm like, Dave, the events that you're working are not bearing the return. You need to stop going to those events. There's no fish in those ponds. Now I'm putting him into ponds that have fish, and he's starting to see some results. It's a battle because people got to get to know you, but he's tackling new fish in a new pond. Listen, if the old ponds want to get back to him, they know where to find him. But I don't think there was any results there. So, like, why keep banging your head against a cement wall if it's not providing anything back? Dave, your thoughts to that? And, the trust factor when it comes to being a real estate agent, real estate investor, and being a service provider.
Yeah, so exactly like Joe mentioned, I was focused a lot over the last decade in going to events and hosting events for real estate agents. So their primary business were people that were buying their owner-occupied properties, and that had really fallen off in the last few years. And I was a little slow to make the shift and pivot because a lot of them got in-house relationships. They formed joint ventures with title agencies and even insurance agencies. So, I took Joe's advice and I started going to more local property investor events where there's, as he said, new fish in the pond. And it was a great move, and I'm seeing, a lot of different results starting to blossom. So to Joe's, basically bottom line, to Joe's point, pivot when there needs to be a pivot. Once you see the signs, don't waste time. Just make that shift and start going to other events or doing other things, and you might see the fruits of your labor more quickly.
And that reminds me of something. Educating without expecting. Share helpful content consistently. Blog posts, reels, infographics, email newsletters. Break down complex topics into bite-sized info. 3 things to know about something. Don't always pitch, but just provide value. Trust grows when people feel you're in help, not just to sell. So I'll give you another great example. I've been going to this one real estate office every time I'm up in the North Jersey market. Just stop in, because kind of something that it's a beautiful building and everything. I just love talking to them. But I brought the flyer in that I could offer a CE course for their agents and say, listen, I'd like to educate your agents on investment financing. It's a very Latin-driven real estate office. So it's definitely a different group of people that I would be accustomed to work with. And the young lady was like, yeah, you know what? This would be great. We're not getting a lot of home buying. We're getting a lot of investors calling us. So guess what? I have a class on Friday teaching 9 real estate agents CE on asset-based lending. And I've been going to that office probably the last couple of years, just stopping by, and there's like kind of a real estate row in this one town. But guess what? I brought that one additional flyer, took an extra minute and said, listen, I love to provide you guys and gals some education, some insight on asset-based lending, and I'll provide some lunch and we'll go over it, some light beverage. And they're like, yeah, this would be great. And now 9 realtors later, I might have a relationship out of that, right? I think it's important that you need to find a niche and do well at it, and just keep burrowing that hole where you're providing that insight and being an expert in your own space. I think all of us can resonate with that, and being consistent and reliable about it, I think, is very important. Trust comes from repetition and familiarity. Posting regularly, being around different events regularly. I mean, listen, the common phrase when I run into somebody, man, you're everywhere. I said, well, I'm right here, but I think the image that I project is that I'm at different venues where people are finding trust working with me, calling me. Hey, listen, I've been seeing at a bunch of events. Can I talk to you about a deal that I have? I mean, that's a great opening phrase. Hey, Joe, I had a call yesterday afternoon after the event that Dave and I sponsored. And the gentleman's like, I've seen you in a bunch of different Facebook groups. You run some great Facebook groups. I'd like to be able to set up my correspondent relationship with you. I'm working with this lender, but like they're not taking my call on a Saturday at 4:00. And I said, okay, well, listen, I'm here to provide, the opportunity. Here's my boundaries. Okay. And this is what I need from people when we're trying to put things together in that white labeling environment. I'll set up a call with my pod, and you could have a good, deep discussion and get comfortable with them, and as you're trying to submit deals with us. But by no means, listen, we're going to separate ourselves from the rest, because one, you're going to be able to call us, and you're going to be able to text us, and you're going to have good communication. I don't think you have that with the other lenders, because no, I don't. I said, so it's all about being authentic and being a good communicator with somebody, setting your boundaries, of course, but that's how you become a trusted real estate leader. Whether you're an agent, whether you're a real estate agent, whether you're a real estate investor, whether you're a title agent, or whether you're an insurance agent, whatever service that you provide in the industry, getting back to people, I think, is important. But I think we all have that vibe that we don't want to be taken advantage of as well. There's only so much picking of one's brain that makes a lot of sense for us, right? We need, at the end of the day, as service providers, we need to make a living. So there's a balance, and you got to kind of set those boundaries. And I think what I do is like, hey, I'd love to sit down with you about the underwriting. Well, that's great. You can sit down with me when I'm teaching a course, because unless you have a deal for me to go over, I can't put that much more time in, because obviously, you want a one-on-one, but I'm not a mentor or coach. I'm a service provider. And that's where a lot of these workshops that are out there, you just got to be cautious of that in sponsoring a lot of those events. I have found where it's more mastermind oriented and more one-on-one oriented at these events. I've seen some really good results of one, building up a power team, a trusted team of experts, and being a leader, right? I think leadership role is so important now, because I think people they're seeking leadership more than ever, and guidance in a market they're not accustomed to, right? A lot of people weren't here during the 2008 mortgage crash. They weren't part of it. They have no feeling of it whatsoever. They kind of heard about it from family members. Okay, it's not in any books where they took a class on it in high school. So if you weren't around for that, it's hard to pivot in a market where it's changed automatically. You're not having a spring market. You're kind of having just a market, okay? And you're trying to find identifying ways of getting in front of more people to hopefully get more deals, in your stable. Amy, any final thoughts to our discussion today, and underrated ways to build trust as a real estate leader?
Hey, yeah, I think everything, obviously, a lot of stuff it goes into. I think you're very spot on the fact that yes, if you were a real estate investor back in '08, like you started investing before I did. I started investing in '08. But there is a whole huge swath of people that have never seen a crash, right? I mean, it's been they caught the fever of real estate when it was in a good cycle, and they haven't had to navigate through that yet. So I do believe that there is a vacuum there, and we could fill it with with some people that you have the opportunity to fill and provide your guidance and expertise, and I think you're right. People are looking for that. So a lot of people sometimes being a trusted leader really is providing that value, and right now the value is knowledge and expertise during those times. I don't think we're out of our real estate recession at all.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be in this probably till like 2027, and I hate to say that, but I think that's where we're at. And so if you were around during those times, that you could really provide some really cool, unique guidance on, how do you navigate when an owner has to sell and they don't want to sell, but they're being forced to, and all the emotional stuff. And then when they do sell, and then they go tear up their whole house because they're so mad at the world that they had to sell it. There's going to be all this weird things that happen that used to happen way back when. I mean, I've seen probably a lot when people are walking away from homes, right? And the tears and all that other stuff. There's gonna be a lot of emotion, and not a lot of people are used to that. So yeah, no, for sure. I think it's going to be an interesting time in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you with the 2027. I think we're going to play ping pong for quite a while on this market. I think you're going to be somewhere in rate. I don't think you should get caught up in the rate. Get caught up in the deal. Get caught up in making sure the deal works, whatever rate it's at.
Right.
I think leading with vision, not just tasks. Great real estate leaders don't just assign duties; they paint the bigger picture. So, share your why. Set a clear 1-year, 5-year vision for yourself, your team, your investments, and keep that vision in front and center in decisions. Communicate clearly and often, making decisive moves, but stay coachable. Building a culture of accountability. I think that's very important. I'm a big KPI guy. I'm going to be very transparent with people, and I think Amy, I think you find my transparency pretty much spot on when we're off Clubhouse. If you reach out to me, I reach back to you, and I think Dave and Felix and Ed would feel the same way. Investing in your team's growth. Strong leaders develop others. So, I'm trying to develop leaders within the groups that I'm hosting, so I could be more flexible and allowing other people to do well. It's very hard to find people that want to step up and be consistent with something, but being the calm in the chaos. I think real estate is high stakes and very fast paced. Leadership means holding the emotional line when things go sideways. Practice emotion regulation. Speak with certainty, even when plans change, and never let urgency turn into panic. Lead by example, and stay very adaptable and future focused, right? If you're having a struggle getting in front of people, have a one-on-one with someone that's out there doing it. Someone that's going to get back to you. Like, listen, if you want to have a discussion on how to do meetups and Eventbrite and all that other stuff, that's easy. Let's talk about that. That takes 15 minutes. Now you got to apply it. I'm not going to apply it for you. I'm not in your market. So you need to stay educated. You need to build flexibility into your strategy and be ready to pivot niches or locations, and always be testing new tech, new markets, new team structures. If you want to lead others, lead yourself first. Maybe get into a morning routine, weekly planning, financial discipline, personal development. The best real estate leaders don't grow their business, they grow themselves first. So these are just some final thoughts. Amy, any other additional thoughts to what, this discussion this morning, even though we had a little interruption there for a minute?
Yeah, no, I think the other thing too is if you're lots of times there's a balance, but a lot of leaders go and make a decision and will have a preference for action. Like they'll lean there. So they'll go with 80% of the information. And you just have to do that. You have to kind of rely on your gut. Sometimes you can't wait around for the perfect amount of information. You can't get stuck in analysis paralysis. You can't do those kinds of things. You're just going to have to go with your gut. Sometimes get as much information as you can, but action over inaction is always better, right? I mean, you have to move forward. You have to, as a leader, you're going to be figuring it out as you go, but just get started. Just do something, right? And if you start doing that and you see success and you'll see failure, but you'll build trust with people because you're one of the people that's not going to wait around. You're going to make a decision and move, right? And a lot of people want to see someone just freaking make a decision and do something, and that'll build trust for you too.
Well, Amy, thank you very much. And I want to thank our sponsors today. This was a little tough today, keep staying on track with this podcast. Always a couple little things, but we got through it. I think we have some great events coming up, and the sponsors are I think, a big sport of all this. We have events in New York coming up this Saturday, a couple hundred people, which I'm just so excited to be meeting and greeting with people in New York. This new community that we're tied into, David and myself. We're going to take it into Delaware. We're taking it into Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. We're going to go across different areas. I'm speaking now up in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. I think we're giving this education back through the podcast, through this room on Clubhouse. The sponsors have been supportive of us, such as Yordell Perkins of Perkintech, Linda Pelagas of Realty 411, MB Capital, your unsecured business line of credit program, Lenmark Capital, really, really strongly supporting me on pushing the lever with the social media, where I'm a nationwide asset-based lender, TCS Property Management, our new alliance with Elite Dealmakers. A lot of this is really, really important because these experts are facilitating and assisting in growth. They're facilitating in education. They love networking. They want to know as many people as possible. People are looking for direction. They're not happy where they're at. They want to get into real estate investing. They think it's a great idea. They're scared. They're overanalyzing. They're thinking things through, and then they miss every deal possible. So being a leader is also being a helpful hand and hopefully a helpful voice in some form of direction. Okay. It's interesting when I meet real estate investors and I meet them in New York or New Jersey and hey, I want to invest in Ohio or Oklahoma. I'm like, have you ever thought about an hour or two away from where you live? Oh, where? Well, I mean, there's always opportunities locally. I mean, like if you don't have to get scared and think you got to be an out-of-state landlord. You can be, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think you got to be realistic to what your expectations are, right? What your financial expectations are. I think that there's an emotional cost benefit. You got to can you handle the traveling? Not everybody in sales can handle traveling. It's not for everybody. Okay, it takes a toll, physically, mentally, a strain. So there's definitely things that you got to work on to building trust with people as a leader, and you also have to work out the cost benefit relationship of that as well. I always do that on every single event. Like I know there's certain events I will not be involved with again because I didn't see the cost benefit. Not that there was anything wrong with the people themselves, but I didn't see a return on my time or my investment. So you got to weigh that out on every single thing you do as a salesperson or a real estate investor. So my quote this morning, I want to thank everybody again. Great room. Sorry about, again, the inconveniences of social media here. My quote this morning is, I can't change the directions of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination. I want to thank everybody again. Have a great week, great Sunday morning. We'll have more education next Sunday. I'd love to see all of you at one of the events we have coming up. If you're interested in us sponsoring one of your events in your market, of course, reach out to us. Let's get involved. Obviously, it's got to be real estate investor directive, but I'm totally into co-sponsor, collaborating with other real estate professionals throughout the country as we grow this whole podcast and community out through Clubhouse as well. So I want to thank everybody. Take care of yourself. Be well. And we'll be ending the room in the next 30 seconds. And thank you.